Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is your guide, Olena. And do you recognize the place? Do you know where I am right now? Hello, Chess Brown from the UK. Chess, any ideas where I am right now? Hello, Odessa. Привіт. Yeah, it's written in the description, in the name. Well, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I'm right now in Chernobyl. In Chernobyl, in the place of the worst nuclear disaster in human's history. And what is behind my back, that is a very famous monument. Just a quick technical question. Do you hear me well? Is everything fine? I wonder what is... Yes, okay, thank you. Because I believe the last time I was live, it was 1 year ago. Quite a long time ago. And internet, yes, the speed is fine, yes? Great. Thank you very much for your information. Well, I will make a very brief tour here in Chernobyl for you right now, live from here. It's a little bit not really planned. Yeah, I just took my phone with me and stabilizer just in case maybe I will go live for you, so I will. Those of you who follow me for a long time, you know that I'm a tour guide in Kyiv and I'm a tour guide in Chernobyl. But the last time I've been here, that was basically 9 months ago. And the reason why I wasn't here is because I was pregnant with my third child. And about 1 month ago, I gave birth to a beautiful baby. Even though the first 2 months of pregnancy, I've been working here as a guide. I've been visiting Chernobyl a couple of times. Yes, she is not a zombie. She is a very beautiful and nice girl. Just yesterday, I posted a video with her. But however, if you are pregnant, yes, you are not recommended to visit the exclusion zone because we still have here some radiation. Yeah, thank you for your congratulations. Hello to Czech Republic. So I am back today because I had to pass an exam to confirm my knowledge about radiation safety and so on. And I did it successfully, and that means that the next year I will be able to work here again as a guide. So plan your visit to Chernobyl next year with the tour guide. Olena, what's the temperature there? So basically it's about +1 degree, like 0 +1, like this. This is what computer on my car, it's parked over there, was showing me right now. And what you see is basically the first snow, one of the first days with the snow in Kyiv and here in Chernobyl. So I'm very lucky to see this area with such a beautiful white blanket. It's not too cold at all. It feels very nice. There is no wind. And it's very quiet, as you can hear. Yes, so the weather can be really cold. You know, last year I've had a tour with a guy from France, Vincent, if you're watching me, hello. And it was -15 degrees. And it was fine, but because we were well dressed. So before you go to Chernobyl, what is very important is to check the weather forecast, because what you need to do first of all is to you need to prepare for the weather, because radiation is quite moderate here. But the weather, you know, sometimes it's even more, give you more troubles than radiation. Because if it's raining, if it's really cold, anyway, you have to walk on foot to see the most of the places here. So the question is, do I have a radiometer with me? Oops, I don't have it right now, and that's a very big mistake of mine. But the reason why is that I'm in Chernobyl and I'm not going to the so-called 10-kilometer zone where the radiation is higher. But here in the town of Chernobyl, where I came to pass the exams, the level of radiation is basically the same as in Kyiv everywhere. So there was no need to take a dosimeter with me. but yes, I should have taken it with me to show you the level. Well, on my YouTube channel there is a playlist called Chernobyl, and over there there are many videos about the exclusion zone. One of them is about Chernobyl, and one of them is dedicated to radiation, to levels of radiation everywhere. Next time, I promise I will take the radiometer with me to show you what is the level. But right now it should be here like 0.1, 0.15 microsieverts per hour, and that is basically the same as in Kyiv, as in the most of the places in Ukraine, and it's a very natural, normal level of radiation. Okay, now a few words about what do we have right now. That monument, yes, that monument is called the Wormwood Star. It's dedicated to Chernobyl because Chernobyl in English is wormwood. What do I mean? This is an angel with a trumpet, and this is illustration like from the Bible. In the Bible, in the part of it about the end of the world, it's written that when the third angel sounds his trumpet, a big star blazing like a torch will fall on the ground, and many rivers will turn bitter, and many people will die because of those rivers. And the name of the star is Chernobyl. The name of the star is Wormwood, and Wormwood in Ukrainian is Chernobyl. Wormwood is the name of the local plant, and it's very spread here. It has a very bitter smell, and the town of Chernobyl is named after this plant, basically, probably. Another thing is when you translate it word by word, Chernobyl means like a black fairy tale, Chornobyl. And that is one of the mysterious parts of the Chernobyl history. What else do we have here? Just behind my back, over there, that is the Alley of Sorrow. And here, what do we have? Here we have the plates, the signs with the names. It looks for you maybe like a cemetery, but it is not. It is a memorial complex. Watch your step, guys, when you walk in Chernobyl. It's slippery. So here are the names of the settlements. Village Andriivka, village Bычки, village Benivka, village Guryakivka. Now that village is the burial site where the equipment, transportation means that were contaminated, they were taken to this village. Now it's a burial site, one of the most contaminated places of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. Village Buda, Glinka, Городище. So what does it mean? These are the names of the settlements that are situated on the territory of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. All of them, they were contaminated, and all the population was evacuated back then in 1986. So you can see the back of those signs, they are crossed, yes, they are black, and that means that those places, they do not exist on the Google Maps anymore. And people, most probably, will never come back to live over there. And of course, for people who lived in those villages, it was very traumatizing. It was psychologically very hard to leave those places. But they were evicted, the places were abandoned, and when you walk through this alley, you can understand how many lives were broken or challenged by this disaster. I don't say how many people were killed by this disaster, how many people died, because basically nobody knows how many. So there are no trustful numbers. That's the thing. Till today, the official number of deaths, that is only 30 people, 30. These are people who died within first weeks after the disaster. And these are firefighters, these are the employees of the nuclear power plant who died, who had acute radiation sickness, and their dose of radiation that they received was too big. People from those villages and the town of Chernobyl and the town of Pripyat. They live now in the other places. Yes, some of them died, but some of them, they still are alive. So Chernobyl history is alive. People who witnessed the accident, you can find those people. So the Soviet authorities relocated all those people from these settlements to the new villages, to the new towns. So the town of Pripyat, instead of this contaminated town, the new town was built with the name Slavutych. And if you want to meet somebody from Pripyat, you go to Slavutych, it's outside of the exclusion zone, and you will find them. Guys, do you know the difference between Chernobyl and Pripyat? If you are with me right now. So everybody knows Chernobyl. By the way, why I keep saying Chornobyl, not Chernobyl? Because Chornobyl, this is the Ukrainian version. Chernobyl, that is transliteration from Russian language. So Chernobyl, I'm at the town of Chernobyl. Chernobyl has a long history. It was here a long time before the nuclear power plant was built. Long time because it was built. So Chernobyl was here 800 years before the accident, 8 centuries. In the 12th century, it was first mentioned in the written books. When the Soviet Union in 1960s decided to build here the nuclear power plant, and they were looking to many places around Ukraine, and to build the very first nuclear power plant of Ukraine, they decided to build it on here, in this land. So in 1960s, Chernobyl was the only town. It was a small town with about like 13,000 people of population. And around the town, there were just woods and those small villages. In 1960s, authorities decided, okay, we will build here the first nuclear power plant, and it automatically received the name of Chernobyl. The power plant is built 14 kilometers away from here, from Chernobyl. And especially for all the employees of the nuclear power plant, the town of Pripyat was built. And it was growing together with the nuclear power plant. So in 1986, 4 reactors had been working already, and the population of Pripyat was already 50,000 people, from 0 to 50,000 people. So what you know as a ghost town, this is Pripyat. Why Pripyat? Pripyat in Ukrainian, Pripyat in Russian. Pripyat, this is the name of the local river. Pripyat is that ghost town that you know from all those YouTube videos, documentaries. If you've been watching Chernobyl mini-series of HBO, then you know that all these, people, firefighters, employees, they were living in Pripyat. Well, there were the firefighters from Chernobyl coming too, but the workers of the plant, they are all from Pripyat. Okay, so Pripyat now is contaminated. Why? Because it is situated just a few kilometers away from the nuclear power plant, very close. So Pripyat was never brought back to life, even though they were trying. So Pripyat will be abandoned really forever. Just look at those frozen fruits of winter. So Pripyat is a ghost town. It's just close to the nuclear power plant. I'm in Chernobyl. It is 14 kilometers away from the nuclear power plant. The level of radiation here today is normal. And but still it is the part of the exclusion zone. Today it is like the administrative center of the Chernobyl exclusion zone. And if you look around here, it doesn't look like a zombie land. Well, maybe a little bit for you if you are from some European or American city. But for me, it looks like just a normal Ukrainian town. We have well-maintained roads. They are even cleaned for the snow. We have the local workers here. So this woman, for example, is the local worker. On the other side, there is a man walking. No zombies, you see? So who are those people and why are they in Chernobyl? Chernobyl is a rotational settlement. Today, Chernobyl was cleaned very well after the accident. It is quite far away from the epicenter. So today it is used as administrative center, as a rotational settlement for the local workers. These are firefighters, police, bodyguards, bodyguards, because very close we have Belarus. From here, they have their own exclusion zone, by the way, and a big part of Belarus was contaminated too. These are doctors, these are scientists, these are workers of the natural reserve, because one of the faces of Chernobyl, this is the big natural park, one of the biggest in Europe, basically. And those people, they work on rotational basis. Usual rotation is 2 weeks in the zone, 2 weeks outside of the zone. Okay, so when they come here for 2 weeks, they need a place to stay. And they stay in the local dormitories that used to be apartment blocks. So what before was apartment blocks, now is a dormitory. The local workers, they come here for 2 weeks. For 2 weeks they are here, then for 2 weeks they come back home. The other rotation is like 4 days in the zones, 3 days at home. Here we have the local shop on the right side. The woman who is selling things to people is smoking. To the left there is the post office. This is the museum dedicated to Chernobyl. So when you come here on the tour, maybe you can visit this museum with your guide. And on the other side, like in the middle, there is a pink building. This is the hotel. Hotel for the local workers who come here not on a regular basis, and for tourists. So it's possible to book a tour for 1 day, and it is possible to book a tour for 2 days, 3 days, and 5 days. What an experience. Yes, in 3 days, of course, you can see much, much more than in 1 day. I can see one of my colleagues over there. Do you want to go live with me? To say hello?
I'm just pretending that I'm not here, but yeah.
Okay. So guys, this is my colleague, Sasha.
Hello. Of course, as normally people say that my hair color is because of radiation.
Yes,
Nope.
some other people like say, you're almost bald because of radiation. Well,
Yeah.
my hair is now
influence
too
of radiation.
Oh, and now I have to do it with one hand. Sasha, why are you working here in the Chernobyl exclusion? What's so special about this place?
Technically, it's the very long story, because I remember when I was 12 or 13 years old, I got my first computer finally, internet, and I was like, I need to learn about something interesting. And somehow I found videos, pictures, different articles about Chernobyl exclusion zone, and I became kinda obsessed about it. But it was my dream to visit Pripyat once a time. The problem is that I was thinking that it's not possible, but finally I found out that it's possible once I moved to Kyiv. And here we go. Now I'm here walking in Chernobyl together with Olena.
How many years it's already?
3 years and a half. Yes, and before I got this job in Chernobyl exclusion zone as a guide, I was a station chief in Kyiv metro. So I changed my profession just a little bit.
Thank you for your feedback, Sasha. I will go a little bit over there to show to the guys some other areas of Chernobyl, and then I will come back to you.
Of course.
Nice to meet you. Do you want to go into the car?
I'm okay to be outside.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, just in case I will give her the keys if she gets frozen because it's cold.
I
Okay.
wouldn't say so. We have
Okay.
a spy on the left.
You see, she says it's not cold. Okay. Yeah, so many colleagues are very happy to see me. That's another YouTuber over there. Tidarian Radioactive is the name of his YouTube channel. So he has very many detailed videos about Chernobyl. The only thing, they are in Russian. I will put the link into the description. His channel is recommended by my channel, by the way. Well, anyway. So we can see quite, that place is quite alive. Yes. So what do we have in Chernobyl? Offices, canteens. We have them here for the local employees. Shops. We have even a karaoke bar here, the local pub. We have here laboratories, a hospital, a post office, and 3 hotels. Yes, so the place looks very much alive, but not everywhere. Now, guys, I step a little bit to the side, this way, and here the place does not look alive like at all. Well, the man who is walking towards us, he is alive, of course. He is one of the local employees. But this street is abandoned. Yes, so if on the main streets we have some offices, we have some infrastructure, here on that street we have only abandoned buildings. So I would say the most of Chernobyl, it looks like this. So private houses where people had been living. You know, I just now realized that the name of the street over there is 25 лет октября, which means 25 years of October. There was like October Revolution, and the street is named after this revolution. So in Chernobyl we still have those streets named after some Soviet Union historical dates, political figures, and so on. So it was not decommunization was not happening here. So it's like frozen in time. Here we have many Soviet memorabilia here in Chernobyl. So people in 1986 were all evacuated from here. And when they were evacuated, they didn't know that they were leaving their homes forever. And those are thousands of people. That old house is already, you see, collapsed. And by the way, this is the main reason why officially you are not allowed to enter any buildings in the exclusion zone when you come here as a tourist, because it's not safe. Especially in Pripyat, there are multi-store buildings that are not maintained. Simply without maintenance, this is what's happening to those buildings. The others maybe look better. But anyway, we are not coming inside. What we can do, we can come closer and we can look through the windows. What is over there? Would you like to see what's over there? Are there any ghosts? Let's take a look. The thing is, when I walk, I have to press the button to see what you write in the chat. Okay. Yes, please. Okay, Dave, let's go and see what is inside. Are there any ghosts? Any zombies? Any mutants? Well, this is what we have inside. So there is nothing inside. Yes, we can look into another window. This is what we see over there. So some remains maybe of the furniture. In some places you will see some creepy dolls that were abandoned, some books, some old newspapers that were printed before 1986. Do you think they were placed here? No. They were abandoned here 35 years ago. So, okay, how evacuation was happening? People were told that there was a minor accident at the nuclear power plant. Minor, yeah? That everything is under control. And a temporary evacuation was needed. People in Pripyat were told they will come back in a couple of days. So 3 days, this is what people thought. So just in 3 days I will come back. Here people were told like couple of days, couple of weeks, and you will come back. People were not allowed to take anything with them. They had to take only some documents, papers, some food for a couple of days. Everything was left behind. All their lives, basically, especially in the villages. Just think, in the village, people didn't have much money. They had just the land where they were growing something. They had their cattle, their domestic animals, and they couldn't take it all with them. So they practically left everything behind. And they were not allowed to come back. Their belongings were all potentially contaminated. And this is why, after evacuation, liquidators had to enter all those buildings for decontamination purposes. They had literally to take everything from inside of those houses and take it away to the burial site. The burial site, in fact, what does it mean? That means a hole in the ground. So belongings of people were simply buried in the soil because they were contaminated. And there were a couple of reasons for this. One of those reasons is that authorities realized that people may want to come back for their belongings. And the other reason, looters maybe would try to come here and pick up things that were left behind. So for those purposes, potentially contaminated things were taken from the buildings and buried in the soil as radioactive things, as radioactive waste. This is why today those buildings are so empty. This is why you don't find much things inside, only things that are not really valuable. And these are toys, and these are newspapers, some remains of the furniture. Here, even curtains are on the windows. So as you can guess, in the post-Soviet Ukraine, when Soviet Union was collapsing, then Ukraine was a very new, young and very poor country. Looters were coming here anyway, not massively, but they were looting. And they were stealing things what were left behind. Those things were mainly those was scrap metal. So everything valuable was already stolen from here. First of all, decontaminated, left on the burial site, and then looters took what was left behind. So today, when we come to the Chernobyl exclusion zone, when we take people to those abandoned villages, to the town of Chernobyl, to Pripyat ghost town, you know, I often say to my tourists that, guys, we don't take anything here but photographs. We don't break anything but silence. And we don't leave anything but footprints, especially footprints in the snow. You know, for me, for the other guides, like Sasha that we've met, that place is the museum. This is the open air museum of the biggest nuclear disaster in the human's history, and we respect this place. For me, you know, a chance to tell you the story of this place, of the Chernobyl exclusion zone, it's a big responsibility. But by the law, all of that is just contaminated land. Most of those settlements, they are not settlements, all of them basically. They are the burial sites. All of them except Chernobyl. Chernobyl is maintained. That house is special. Sorry guys, connection was lost for a second. Are you here with me again? Okay. So, прости и прощай мой дом is written on the wall, which means goodbye and forgive me my home. So those sentences, like these phrases, were written by the locals who were leaving their home, and they were feeling that this will be forever. So they were saying goodbye to their home. And you know, those writings, they are really, really heartbreaking. So for people, it was very traumatizing, very, very difficult to leave their home, especially for those who lived in the villages. You know, they were living here in generations. Their mothers and grandmothers and grandparents and so on, all of them were coming from this place. They were not traveling much in those times, like at all. And they were very attached to their native land. So to them, they were like uprooted. And later, people would be saying that we were dying, they were dying, not because of radiation. We were dying because we were feeling homesick. And this is why some people started to come back to their native homes. And we call these people samoseli. We call them self-settlers. And Peter, you're asking where do most of samoseli live? So samoseli, those are those self-settlers, resettlers, people who were coming back to their native homes after evacuation despite radiation, because they were feeling homesick, if in brief. And well, that was not legal, but they were coming here on foot like partisans, hiding from the soldiers, hiding from the police. Mostly they were coming back to their native villages. Nobody was coming back to Pripyat. Pripyat was too much contaminated. But they were coming back to their villages. And the Chernobyl exclusion zone is very big. It is 2,800 square kilometers. And the local native wood, and mostly is covered with the wood, with the forest. It was all native and familiar to them, and they knew how to hide from the soldiers. And later, authorities kind of gave up and said, okay, you can stay here, but sign a paper that you don't need any compensations from us. You don't need a new working place. You don't need a new place to live outside of the zone, like a new apartment in Kyiv, in the capital. And people signed those papers, and they were kind of legalized. And they still live here. As for today, we have about 100, I believe today it's a little less, 100 people that we call them samoseli, resettlers or self-settlers. Most of them, Peter, I'm answering, live here in Chernobyl, in the town of Chernobyl, simply because they have infrastructure here, and they have access to the hospital, to the post office. They can go to a shop and buy something. So it's easier to survive. And even those people who were originally from the nearby villages, some of them live now here in the town of Chernobyl. That building was on fire, as you can see. And how does it look? Well, on this street, where I can get on foot, I don't know much of samoseli, but it looks like this, you know, abandoned house, abandoned house, abandoned house, and just in the middle, there is a house that is maintained. And some lonely babushka, old woman, old lady, is living in the house. Not in that one, but I mean in the picture looks like this. And she lives over there all by herself. And it's already 35 years after the accident has passed. And she says that I'm so happy that I didn't leave the place, that I came back, because if I was evacuated, I would already be dead by this time. No reflection. So the thing is that the average age of the local settlers, samoseli, it is almost 90 years. And that is much, much more than average Ukrainians live. That's interesting. The average lifespan for Ukrainian men is 65 years. For women, 75. This is why we have much more women living in Ukraine than men, and men die young here. And the resettlers here, they live longer than average Ukrainians. That's very interesting, right? So if you want to know more about these guys, I highly, highly recommend you to watch a movie called Babushkas of Chernobyl. I will later put the link into the comments or in the description, and you can watch about these resettlers who live here. And when we come here with our tourists for 2 days, for example, or for a private tour, it's possible to visit one of those resettlers, or many of them if you prefer, and to talk to them, to those people, to ask why they are back. And they are very happy to meet people. And of course, we are very grateful that they share their memories. And you know, these are the last local species, let's say, the last Chernobyl settlers, and they will be passing away soon, and one by one they are passing away simply because of their age. Are they dying because of radiation? Well, I would be happy to die because of radiation when I am 100 years old and I'm still in good form and I can walk myself and so on. So they are dying because they are old. So comparing with the other people, they live quite well, their health, because they are back to their roots, because they have no stress. They're closer to the nature, guys. They don't have even air pollution. And they are living, those resettlers, all of them today, they are living in the so-called 30-kilometer zone. So that's a very important detail. There is a 10-kilometer zone around the nuclear power plant, which is more contaminated. And there is 30-kilometer zone, which is not that much contaminated, and today where the level of radiation is back to normal. So they live today where the level of radiation is back to normal. So they are not that much exposed to radiation. Do you know why? So why the level is much lower than before? I will come back to this topic. I just want to explain myself. So why I was so surprised that the name of the street is 20 years of October. So here and on many other buildings, the word years is whitened. We can't see it. So it is called the street of 25th of October. And it's interesting. I was surprised because my daughter, my baby, was born on the 25th of October. So just a little more than 1 month ago. And I'm now on the street named after the day of her birthday. I don't know, I feel so much connected to this place, and sometimes I cannot even explain why. Like, I'm really not originally from these lands at all. I wasn't dreaming to come here for years like Sasha. You know, I'm from the south of Ukraine, from a small town. I didn't know much about Chernobyl. Radiation didn't affect us a lot. The cloud didn't reach us because the wind simply was blowing the other way. And basically, well, my mother was afraid anyway. This is why she was giving me some red wine since I was a child. And I was born in April 1986. I was born just 3 weeks before the accident had happened. And since I was very, very little, I was drinking red wine because my mother believed that it helps to get rid of radionuclides, which wasn't true, of course. This is why I believe I had some problems with alcohol, but well, right now I'm not drinking like at all, completely. And yeah, so even those people here who were not affected directly, physically by radiation, they experienced some consequences of this accident by the other way. And I was a journalist for years, and Then I was traveling a lot. Then I had 2 kids, and I could not travel that much anymore as a journalist. I decided to settle here in Ukraine. And I was looking for a new job where my English was required. And this is how I found a company, a very good company, basically, Chernobyl Tour. I started to work with them, and I found myself in Chernobyl. That was, yeah, now I work for Tadarian Adventures. This is my company. And yeah, I keep coming over and over again to this, and each time I come here, I find out something more. I feel something new. You know, what is interesting about this place? Each person who comes here, he discovers something new for himself, for herself. Some people are urbex explorers. You know, it's heaven for urbex exploration. So many abundant buildings and streets, and the whole ghost town, the unique ghost town in the world. Photographers. You know, the place is picturesque. It has some beauty, even those creepy places, some creepy beauty in this place. Some other people are historians, you know, they like to find out more about history of the Soviet Union, which is much connected, of course, with the other countries in the world. And that place basically is why the Soviet Union collapsed and so on. And of course, people who know something about radiation, like nuclear scientists. This is a big open air field for exploring consequences of the nuclear accident. It's like open air laboratory. Well, it's not a secret that some people are coming here just for fun, just for selfies. That is a tendency of the recent years, I would say, especially after this movie, HBO miniseries Chernobyl. Especially for local people, for young local Ukrainians, and from the neighboring countries too, like Poland, Russia, Belarus. They are mostly coming, you know, just because it's a popular place to visit, and it's famous, and it's unusual, let's say, to visit Chernobyl. It's like in fashion. But, well, why not? I mean, no, doesn't matter which reason. No matter which reason is to come here, you know, if you come here and you find out more about this place, then this is good, because you need to come here to really understand what had happened, to realize the whole scale of that nuclear accident that happened here. Well, I think I will be with you guys for another like 10 minutes. I will now look through the through what you have written in the chat, because I always need to watch my step. Otherwise, I can simply fall and break up something. Yeah. So what are you writing me? Meanwhile, you can ask me questions if you have any questions. Okay, so Dmitro is saying the weather is very right to go there. Yeah, I was really lucky with the weather. One of the best, you know, seasons to come here. I just imagine that building over there, if it's the summertime, all those trees would be covered with the green leaves, and you know what? You would not see that house like at all. It will be like hidden under the vegetation. The place gets very much overgrown in the summer. So you don't see much of the buildings, but on the other way, you can see this power of the nature that had recovered here. You know, and that is probably what surprises me most of all. You can see the place is alive. You know, the place that used to be the symbol of big tragedy. It's still the tragedy, of course. But now it's becoming a symbol of nature that is recovering. And that's amazing how nature recovers just in these 35 years, simply because there were no people. Even brown bears are coming back. We have here wolves, many wolves, and wolves would never come back to a place where they have no food. So if we have wolves, we have all the other animals like deers, elks, foxes, beavers, we have raccoon dogs, we have rabbits, like many animals, and nature really recovers. Now, if you know the documentary which is called Our Planet, so in one of those episodes, in the end of the episode about the forests, David Attenborough is showing Chernobyl as a symbol where nature received a chance to recover. And the conclusion that the journalist makes, he said that basically nature will recover if we only give it a chance. And especially it's mind-blowing in Pripyat, in the ghost town, when you walk through those streets, they are completely overgrown. So if that street is walkable and you can even drive by car, in Pripyat it's just the forest, really the forest. Find the video on my channel, you will see Pripyat. It's really mind-blowing. Yes, the other comments, the other questions. You are a queen. You have to go to work now, but it will be back later. Okay, no worries. Thank you for being with me. I didn't expect much people. I'm sorry I didn't invite you to this conference, to this live, because I wasn't sure that I will be at what time I can go live. I wasn't sure how long the exams can be. And at home I have a small baby who is waiting for me. She's just 1 month old and she stays with her father. She has, of course, some milk that I left her, but of course I have to hurry back home to Kyiv. So it's about 2 hours of a drive between Kyiv, the capital of Ukraine, and Chernobyl. So when you book a tour and you come here on a tour, be ready to spend about 2 hours in a car, in the bus, to get to the exclusion zone. Okay, what are the other comments? Also, can you do a video considering the impact of Russia's threat to Ukraine? Okay, Eric, recently I'm getting more and more questions about that Russian threat. Well, guys, I will just now tell you briefly what I think. It will be very subjective opinion, okay? So I'm not a politician, I'm not a political expert. I'm just, a guide, a journalist. But what I can feel myself, what I read myself, because I'm reading the same thing what you read, might be a little more because I read some Ukrainian newspapers, watch local news channels. Well, and as a journalist, I know that journalists always exaggerate to make you watch the channel, to make you watch the news, read the news. So they will always say the threat, is big. The thing is, this time we don't know how big is the threat. It's for me, I don't. What's new, guys? Basically, is Russian invasion possible, guys? Russia invaded Ukraine 7 years ago in 2014. Too late. They are already here. Crimea, Donbass, big part of Ukraine is occupied by Russia for 7 years, What are they doing from time to time? They are showing their muscles over there at the border just to check. If I bite a little more, will you hit back? Or you will surrender? Okay, first of all, we will never surrender. That's for sure. And the second, we have always to react on these, military exercises at the border, military trainings. And it's not only Putin. He needs not just Ukrainian reaction. He needs reaction from Washington and from Brussels. If guys over there say that you shouldn't do like this, we are ready to support Ukraine, then he will not hit. He will not bite. So what's happening right now, it's not that tomorrow there will be bombs falling on Kyiv. So this is just, a theater to show and to check what is the situation. Maybe to make pressure on Ukraine, but first to make pressure on the USA because Putin doesn't want NATO to be here. Because his long-term purpose is basically to take Ukraine. Because those Russian current authorities, they really believe that Ukraine should be part of Russia, but there is no Ukraine, no Ukrainian language, no Ukrainians. Here I'm Ukrainian, I speak Ukrainian language, and this is my country. But I don't want my son, I don't want my husband to take a gun and go and fight. I want this all peacefully to end up. Well, these are my thoughts about it. So if you plan to visit Ukraine this winter, you shouldn't cancel the trip because of Russian invasion, because anyway it will not be sudden. It's not Afghanistan. People will not be jumping on the plane to get away from here. This is what I think. So it will be slowly happening, and it will be always happening. We have about 2,000 kilometers of common border with Russia, I believe. So it will be always a problem here. So we are always worried about possible Russian invasion, but I don't think it will happen this winter. It will not happen soon. Okay, so that was off top, but I know that many people are worried about that. Okay, what else? I'm wanting to do a tour of Chernobyl next winter. How much time do you need to arrange a trip? Well, if it's urgent, it can be even one day in advance, but better, of course, 1 week, maybe 1 month, just to give a deposit and give you passport information, like 2 days will be enough. Even 1 day is possible, but it's better to discuss with a tour guide if you want an exact tour guide, like me, for example, to find out if is he free on which days. But technically, yes, 1 day in advance it is possible to book a tour. We have many companies here working in Chernobyl. Well, guys, I don't need to wash myself before I handle the baby after the visit to Chernobyl, because as I say here, the level of radiation is not high anymore. It's the same as in Kyiv. Another thing, that when we are leaving Chernobyl exclusion zone, we go through the dosimetristic control. So there will be the special equipment that will check, are you contaminated or not. So I will make sure that I'm not contaminated when I get out of the exclusion zone. And if I have any radioactive dust on my clothes, I will not be let out of the zone. I need to be washed here, not at home. So this is a normal procedure for everybody who is leaving the exclusion zone. Саня, а в тебе дозиметра нема?
Ні.
Я теж не взяла. Okay, so what are the other questions? Okay, I took my exam already today, so I passed it successfully. Yes, I miss being a journalist, but for me, this YouTube channel is like instead of journalism, where I am absolutely independent and I can say whatever I want without any censorship. I can even say that Putin huilo, which means Putin is a bad guy, and it will not be censored. This is how locals call him, because we don't like him, because he is huilo, as they say. Yes. Okay. YouTube shouldn't ban me for this, right? Okay. I'm given on Patreon, so we'll contact you through there. Yes, Dave, you're welcome to contact me directly on my WhatsApp, on my email. Yeah, many thanks for those of you guys who support me on Patreon. It's very important. It's a really big support for my channel, and I'm like getting a salary from you. This is what I like. I'm a journalist who is paid directly by my audience, and thank you very, very much for this. Really thank you. Well, to support me in other way, please like this video, subscribe my channel. I think this frozen girl needs to be taken home.
Frozen, but I already subscribed you, so it's short.
Thank you. Well, I am a little frozen, and I'm a little worried about my girl who is at home. So guys, I'm afraid I need to go home. Thank you for your attention. Okay, if you still have some questions, you can ask them in the comments. Okay, and it was a big pleasure to meet you. So I hope that video was interesting. Well, I can see I always had about 20 people watching this live stream, which is, I think, a very good result. So thank you so much for your attention. Goodbye. It was pleasure, really. Where to press that button? Anybody knows how to stop it? Yeah, like here. Goodbye.